Brian, good evening. So I started your reading already. As you can see, it's inevitable. Every session I have some type of an issue. My memory runs out. I have to put the SD card in, the battery's dying, or some other such thing. So anyway, I'm starting over. I did shuffle them. I cut them in the last video. We'll go back. This card sums up your overall situation. So this covers you. So this is you at the beginning of a journey. It's not necessarily a domestic journey, nor would it really be a workplace related journey. This is an internal journey, a journey of processing pain, learning how to cope with difficult situations, with still getting the lessons from them, how to make them work for you, gaining the understanding that these challenges help you grow. So really you just began this. You're not really sure what to think yet. You don't have enough information where you can make a sound judgment on what's going to happen, or be 100% like able to let down your guard and relax. You have ideas of how you hope things would turn out, even maybe how you think things will turn out, but you're hesitant to become too attached to those expectations because you don't know enough yet, and there's a possibility that you could be disappointed. And not even just the disappointment aspect, but you don't want to focus solely on what you hope is going to happen and then be completely unprepared if something completely different happens. So you're sort of keeping an eye on the possible future of this kind of new journey that you're on. Kind of like this little boy. Christmas is coming up, or holiday, whatever, Yule. And he's really hoping that he's going to get that. He's thinking about it and allowing himself a little bit of hope. However, he's not attached to it. He's not counting on it. He's not going to be devastated if he doesn't get it. He's kind of holding it out in the possibility, like the area of possibility. So this way, he if he opens up his Yule gift and it's something different, he's not gonna, he will have prepared for that possibility, and he'll adjust and move on accordingly. So with you, in whatever situation you're dealing with, like I said, it's brand new. You just started. You're not really sure where it's going to take you, how it's going to end up. And that's okay. You're not rigidly expecting it to be one certain thing, so it's not going to all topple down if things don't go specifically according to what you imagined, which is great. But you do have an idea of what you'd hope to happen and what you would like to happen. And you're just moving forward, because with this, whether or not, it has your full trust or your full faith, or whether or not you're 100% confident, unfortunately, you really don't have time to get to that place. Things are already moving along. You're moving along with it, whether you're ready or not. And you're kind of ready, but kind of not. So you're just sort of keeping one eye open, staying a little wary, keeping your guard up until you've arrived at the place where you are comfortable with the situation and you can fully relax into what's happening. What crosses you, so something that impacts this situation for better or for worse. Well, what may be either, distracting you from putting the time in that you need to get to know this to a point that you feel solid about it, or like that enough, or it may be to get to know this person enough where you feel like you can develop a foundation of trust. Maybe what is interfering with you being able to do that, or to have the more certainty that you'd like to have, is that you're dealing with a lot of backlash, not necessarily relating to this particular thing, but you feel like you have to defend yourself from every angle. So you're rather busy just dodging the arrows and deflecting the bullets and trying to neutralize, misunderstandings. But you just feel like, wow, this is not fair. It's like coming at me from every angle. I got to deal with whatever, my mother-in-law, and I have to deal with my boss. And it's like nothing's ever good enough for anyone. And why do I have to continue to justify what I'm doing and to validate, like my actions and everything. Like you just feel like you're on trial, but it's just like coming at you from everywhere. But the good news is that, you are standing your ground. You're not letting them push you down. You're not letting them talk you out of pursuing what you're working on, instill you with doubt. You are standing through the onslaught or the barrage of questions and criticisms and judgments. And like, yeah, it's hard, but it's not swaying you. And that is definitely a really good trait to hold on to, especially during difficult situations, which, you may be on a journey with a few of those down the road, but they're not for nothing. I'm sure it's pain is our greatest teacher, and the biggest challenges we face are what we grow the most from. So I'm not saying that as a way of making you dread that, but just for you when they happen to keep in mind, this is not happening to you, it's happening for you. And through all of these things, you will arrive where you're meant to be, and you can't get there without the resistance. All right, so anyways, at the foundation, so we'll say if this were like a lotus, it has blossomed up out of this seed. Okay, so what all this is coming from, because as you can see, this is a 2, so it's a new beginning. And this is a new beginning on the heels of your old framework completely falling apart. Which a lot of people see this card and they're like, oh, this is a bad card, this is a terrible card. No, it's not. Actually, no card in the tarot is bad, because, we all have free will. It's just guidance. And none of them are like, oh, you suck. No, this is what we can do. This is why this is happening. This is how it's going to advance us. So in this case, you, for the time that you were erecting this, you built the best tower that you could with what you had, what you knew, and it served the purposes that you had at that time very well. And around that, you may have created an entire framework or interconnected friend groups and activities and a whole lifestyle. So, you do have a lot of aspects of, your life that are kind of interconnected. And life as you know it, or if that was the tower, you've got this brick, here's my family, here's my job, my kids and my routines that I have every day and my traditions and my beliefs and blah, blah, blah. You get what I'm saying. And before this would have happened, you would have had a knowing, like an intuition. You've kind of outgrown this situation and you need to update it. But as most of us do, it was familiar, it was comfortable. It may not have been satisfying or fulfilling or meeting your needs. But let's face it, sometimes we have to be pushed out of the nest. Even if we know something better is waiting out there for us, even if we know that the situation we have is not serving us, it is really hard to let go. So, you had that awareness, but it got to a point where the universe kind of had to push, and that is what happened. Things fell apart. It may have felt traumatic at the time. It may have been sad, overwhelming, stressful, but hopefully you saw through that, that left a blank space where you could build whatever you wanted, some new updated tower, a tower that would more fit your current life situation. And so of course it's going to be all a good thing, but it is hard to let go. Your recent past as it pertains to this situation is the Magician. We have a lot of new beginnings, and that makes sense because this was an ending. So in your recent past, you just got to a point where you have realized and taken responsibility for your personal power as it relates to this situation. And not even just this situation, but because this is a major arcana card, just your life in general. So it may have felt previous to this time, especially when this happened, you felt like you had very little control over what happened to you. That you're just at the whim of the universe, like a little boat tossing on the sea wherever the waves might take you, and you have nothing to do with where you end up, or at the mercy of the fates. But then you got to a point, and this happened. You're like, oh well, whatever, bad luck, whatever shit happens, I can't do anything about it. I'm a victim of life circumstances, and I'm just along for the ride, and that's normal. But then after that, more recently, you started to discover that you actually have a lot more power over the results of your life or your path and where it leads than you previously thought that you did. You're starting to become conscious of the effects of your actions and to notice the patterns or the results of the energy that you're putting out, and it's starting to dawn on you that you can intentionally manipulate, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but manipulate your actions in order to produce the desired result. So you have found the recipe, so to say, to create whatever you want, whatever trait you want. If the trait is like wealth, well, then you know that you and nobody else decides whether or not you'll get that. And what will determine that is the actions you take today. Where you end up tomorrow is based on the actions you take today. And yes, there are always things that are beyond our control, but you're starting to see just how much you can do with the things that are in your control. And it makes you feel empowered, and it makes you feel a little bit less stuck or a little bit less trapped, because you have the key to move yourself in a different direction if this one isn't working for you. So that's an awesome feeling, I know, when you get that, when you have that realization, like, oh, I'm in charge. Your near future, as it pertains to this situation, there may be a little bit of a struggle. This is not a negative card, though. And in some decks, it's like the beggars. I have the Goddess Tarot deck where, like, I think it is like so many cards. It's all about perspective. It could be a bad thing. It could be a good thing. Most likely, it's a little bit of both. You're in a situation where it may very possibly, literally, impoverished, whether that would be resources or money, just not quite having enough to cover what you need to do. And so he's got his little head down, and he feels very ashamed. He doesn't want to have to ask for help. He doesn't want, it's not even just a pride thing. It's just, he just feels awkward, and he feels like he's a failure, and why couldn't I take care of myself? And what must people think of me? And they must think that, like, I did a bad job because I'm asking for help now. I shouldn't have to. But the message here is that, there are a lot of people in your life that would be more than willing to help. And they would not consider it as something, they would not even consider it like any inconvenience whatsoever. As a matter of fact, you would be surprised how many people would be delighted to have an opportunity to do something kind for you simply because you've been so kind to them or people that they know. And so let them have that. Give them that. That is giving them a gift. And I know it feels weird and it sounds weird to say it, but it's absolutely true. If you have made a difference in somebody's life, sometimes the greatest gift that you can give them is the opportunity to do something nice for you. And if they have the means to do so, it's not an imposition. They are thrilled. So just, with gratitude and not apologies, go ahead and approach the people that, that you feel that are in your corner and that you have in your life that support you and that will be able to help get you through the difficult time up ahead. You're not going through it alone, and you'll get by with a little help from your friends, so to speak. All right. What crowns you? The best thing that you have going for you in this situation. So you recently reached a goal as it pertains to something like that fulfilled you emotionally. So not necessarily like a competitive goal or a work goal or like a, I don't know, not necessarily romance, but it would be something like that. Like, it's not essential, like your material needs or anything, and it's not like urgent or like a project with an end in sight or a deadline or anything like that. It's something more fluid. However, you reached a point at which, while simultaneously reaching one milestone, you also opened the gate to start the next cycle. So for example, if this was like a relationship, maybe you got to a point where you have full trust in this person and they have full trust in you, and that's like the completion of that. But the 10 is not only completion, but simultaneously new beginning. So that rolls into, okay, well, now what are we going to work toward now that we have this trust? And then when you get to the 10 of that, you just keep moving up and advancing with what you gained in the previous cycle. So what you have going for you is you do have it's a happiness and something that gives you joy and pleasure and emotional satisfaction. It very well could be a relationship that makes you very happy. It wouldn't be like a children type of thing, but it's not necessarily romantic. It could just be one of, like a friendship. Somebody who just loves you genuinely and makes you just feel good. They don't have an ulterior motive or an agenda. They don't need you to like help them with anything. They don't expect anything of you. They just care, purely. And that is such a healing feeling. So that's definitely going to be a benefit, as if you're going through a struggle and starting something new that you're a little unsure of and unfamiliar with, and not to mention, having to field interrogations or questioning your actions. Nobody has to live with them but you. So, whatever. If maybe if they would have done it differently, then they might have that opportunity, they might not. But what does that have to do with you? Always choose what resonates with you, because the person feeling the regret will never be them. So anyways, and you're starting to see this, so you, even though, okay, and even actually as this relates in here with that, the near future, having the hard time, you may be coming to the realization about how the cause and effect, or the energy input / output while you are on your way headed to that situation.